Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Zenput product tour. My name is Pete Schott. I'm the Director of Product Marketing. I'm also joined by my colleague, Rob Schell, and we're excited to have you here to join us. What we'd like to do for the next 20-25 minutes is give you an introduction to Zenput. You might have heard of us from one of your colleagues, or maybe you're just coming in cold. So we'd like to tell you a little bit about us, give you some context. We'll also spend a good chunk of time here actually walking you through the demo, a demo of the platform itself, showing you both our mobile apps as well as our desktop experience, and showing you how multi-unit restaurants, convenience stores, and grocery stores are using us in every one of their locations. So let's go ahead and get started. For the last 7+ years, we've been working with chief operating officers, VPs, and other operations leaders to address some of the core challenges that come with running a multi-unit operation. As an operation grows, things change internally, externally. Obviously, this year has been a different one, to say the least, and these things have really shed a new light on being able to adapt quickly, whether you're rolling out your own new strategies internally or things are happening and changing in the environment around you. It's really hard to not only come up with those strategies, but then roll them out across your entire operation really quickly. On the safety front, food safety has obviously been, as a food service operator, top of mind for you always, but sort of broadening the scope of that and saying, look, how do we really make sure that we're not only making our customers safe, both in the food that they're consuming with us, but in the experience that they have with us, but also with our employees, right? And making them feel good about, having processes in place to make sure that they feel good about coming into work every day and that they'll be safe doing that. And finally, this has been a challenge forever for multi-unit operators. The idea of visibility and not necessarily knowing what's happening in each store every day, right? You'd love to be able to be in each store to coach and work with your employees and show them how exactly you want things done, but you can't, obviously. But so how do you work on that to actually have more insight into what's actually happening in those stores? And so the question is, what are operators actually doing about it? And moving on to this next slide here, looking for ways to be more agile, for example, is one of the key areas that they're looking into. It's one thing to roll out a new strategy, right, and communicate it with your entire org, but it's another thing entirely to actually operationalize that and to do it quickly and get every store on board with what needs to happen when and how to do it the right way. Operators are also looking for ways to make their employees more productive, to help them prioritize the most important work that needs to happen in any given day, and to be able to do it really, really well. And beyond that, also give management more visibility into the quality of that work that's actually happening and whether or not it's actually being done at all. These are the areas that we focus with on our customers to really redefine what's possible and improve their ability to execute. So here's what that actually looks like, just to paint some scenarios for you. Imagine, for example, being able to react at a moment's notice and be able to update your safety procedures in every store and track it so that you actually know that they're being done the right way every day. Field leaders, your district managers are spending less time in stores these days, most likely. What if they could still identify coaching opportunities for their stores even while they're working remotely, right? Maybe they're working from their home office, or maybe they're working in the, at headquarters. What if they could kind of be there without being there and have data and insights that the stores are sending them, and actually be able to ensure that their stores are following up on and following through on the things that leaders want them to follow through on. Finally, what if you could automate certain processes like checking equipment temperatures or other things that would save your staff time so that they can spend more time doing the things that you really want them doing, such as whether it's cleaning and sanitizing or just spending time with customers. This is Zenput. And so just to give you a sort of a zoomed out scope of how our platform works, we are an operations execution platform that supports all of your key processes in operations, from helping improve store compliance against your latest safety initiatives to helping you roll out new brand standards across the operation. We help everyone from headquarters to field to all of your stores have the tools they need to be successful and do their jobs really well. So that was a bit of an intro for you. What I'd like to do now is pass things over to my colleague Rob to make it a bit more real and show you how the platform works and some examples.
Excellent, thanks, Pete, and hi everyone. Again, my name is Rob Shell, and I help lead our go-to-market team here at Zenput, and helping multi-unit operators really across a wide variety of industries, whether it's restaurants, grocery, or convenience stores, start to leverage this power of an actual operations execution platform. Really to drive, some of the needs around agility and quality that I know everybody is kind of having to manage in new and interesting ways in this time that we're seeing in the industry. So what I'm going to do is take you guys through a pretty high level overview of how it is that we actually manage all of these kind of individual components in the platform, and some kind of critical ways that we're driving more agility into the operational processes that you guys are managing across your stores. And the way that we really do this in our platform today is really across kind of two key components. So one is what you're seeing on the screen now. This is our web interface that is typically leveraged by home office employees, right? This is kind of the central hub and the one place to go to manage all of the different work that needs to get done, assigning that work out, tracking completion of all of the critical items that need to get done, communicating out new initiatives or important messages out to your field or your store teams, and then of course making sense of all of that information that we're collecting. We're big firm believers that the purpose of managing all of these procedures is to ultimately create a better customer experience and consistency across the organization. So we provide a lot of really good reporting and analytics in this web version for leaders to really understand and kind of make the work that's getting done matter for their organization. The second component is our mobile application, and this is largely where your field and restaurant teams would live in the day-to-day. So we'll kind of start here. This is really the foundational component to the platform, and again is where all of your field and store teams are going to go to understand what work needs to get done, what important messages are being communicated out to me, and then actually execute on that work in a quicker, easier way than how they typically may be used to managing some of this work. So on this screen in the mobile application, I have a couple of different views. One important piece to know about Zenput and the way that we've developed the system is it's really built for the multi-unit operators in the larger retail, restaurant, convenience store, grocery space. And a key component of that is surfacing up important and relevant information that makes sense for your store teams or your field teams, so they have a really good understanding of their particular work and what they need to do to foster success across the organization. So that plays directly into the interface on the mobile application. So I have two screens up here. On the left-hand side, I'm logged in as a field team member. I'm a district manager, I'm an above restaurant leader, or maybe I'm even kind of at the regional level, and I may have individual work that I need to get done, which is very clearly outlaid in my task section. But I also have a higher visibility. I can see across the district that I'm responsible for, and in all of my stores that I need to oversee. as Pete was mentioning, this kind of higher level visibility is really, really important, especially in today's time where some of you may be struggling still with, field team members not being able to travel as much as they're used to, right? A lot of non kind of essential travel may be banned, or your teams are just spread more thin than they were, right? You may have had to deal with some reduction or repurposing of some of those roles, and so you're having to do more with less. So this high level overview is really meant to kind of enable your teams with all of the relevant information that they need to get done. Because I may have issues with visibility or lack of kind of consistency in the amount of times that I can go visit these stores, being able to click into one of my restaurants or one of my convenience stores or grocery stores that I oversee, and starting to get a lot of the metrics that typically, and maybe I've never gotten before without physically being in the store, things like what tasks does the store have to do today? How are they doing overall on some of the key things that we're asking them to do, whether it's an opening checklist, a temperature log, or even something like a COVID, a cleanliness or sanitation procedure. You have a lot of great visibility into the work that's being done across your locations, more so probably than you're used to or have ever had before. We also want to surface up important details around overall performance. So if I can take a look at let's say, kind of a recurring calendar style view and start to see what shifts or what days, my locations are struggling, or even at the store level, starting to see things like common questions on our brand standards, as you'll see on the store view, that our stores are struggling with. The goal here is this added visibility around the work allows teams to better spend already the time that may be stretched a little more thin on coaching and training, because I'm highlighted with some of these areas that I may want to focus on. If I see that we have very strong trends in things like bathroom cleanliness, then maybe that's where I'm going to spend my time focusing on from a coaching and training perspective. This also saves me a ton of time. I'm not spending the first 40 minutes of my visit, in the back office sorting through paperwork, trying to get an understanding of what's going on. So this is really, really helpful just from the overall visibility perspective. Now, from the actual work that needs to get done, you'll see we have a really dynamic way of in terms of assigning work out. Again, regardless of what role it is or who it is that's doing it. If I'm a district manager and I click into my tasks, I may have some audits that I need to get done. I'm going to go do my brand standards assessment at store 1364 here. If I'm the store level, right, I may actually have items that are assigned out to me throughout the day, and this really helps me kind of keep on track. I know that I need to do my daily temperature log or my opening checklist, and I'm going to receive notifications. So a lot of the kind of communication struggles that encompass all of this work that needs to get done are really, really simple and easy to understand in the system. I have a very clear idea of what work needs to get done and when these things need to get done by. In terms of the actual work itself, we really focus on taking the processes and procedures that your teams are used to and doing today, and making those more efficient by bringing them into this digital platform. So you guys most likely already have things like a cash deposit log or a daily temperature log, or even something like a brand standards assessment here that's shown on the screen, right? And your ability to kind of click into those items is really, really helpful. I'll go ahead and kill the store level screen and focus on this brand standards for a second, but we can take these in and easily adapt these to the platform. So your DMs, your store teams are focused on the same thing they've always been focused on, which is getting this work done at a high quality. Now, a lot of organizations also take this opportunity to really focus on how do I make this process more efficient? How do I bring more agility into the information that I'm collecting? And some really simple ways that you can do that is through things like getting actual eyes in your store locations. And maybe that looks like something like adding things like photo options for questions. So I can actually have a store or an area leader take pictures of the back office in this case, and actually give really good coaching pointers, not just letting you know, hey, the outside is dirty. I'm showing you here are the exact areas that you need to focus on. And this is communicated really well down to the store. So again, you're not having to rely on things like Post-it notes, phone calls, emails, huge text threads to kind of get all of your team on the same path. Even things like corrective actions can be managed all directly through the system. In terms of the forms, they are incredibly flexible to be made into whatever use case. It may be really heavy on the food safety side, so you're checking things like, you know, are products expired and you know, thrown out at the store location, or what are the actual temperatures of items. Again, we want to make this really, really helpful for teams. So we have the great capabilities of doing things like integrating with IoT devices. So whether that be a Bluetooth thermometer or maybe a temperature sensor in your cooler, and having that information stream in here. If I probe my chicken tenders, you know, it would automatically input the information, or I can manually do these things. And again, really focusing on helping the store teams get these items done and accurate. So if for some reason temperature is out of range, right, we can dynamically react, and the system will say, hey, this chicken tender is out of temperature range, so I need you to select some sort of corrective action that was taken. All of this is leading to better consistency, better execution, because we're working smarter, not necessarily harder with the work that we're doing. All of these forms, you know, the information is captured directly in the system, so you don't have to worry about managing, you know, a backlog in the home office of, you know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days worth of temperature logs or forms. All of this information is available in the application in a very easy to use digital interface. So once I submit this form, it's automatically going to be logged. And you know, the corrective actions, maybe in this case for store 1364, will be sent out in real time, so you'll be able to see those, and the store will be able to take action. So if you submit, you know, a brand standards assessment with issues maybe around cleanliness, you'll see everyone is in the loop immediately. The store is going to get a notification, hey, there was an issue with, you know, the exterior of your store. Here's that photo that was just taken from the DM. I have a very clear understanding of what it is that I need to get fixed. I'm going to go fix that issue and send it back. So the communication element here is really, really important. We want to make this easy for teams to collaborate. Your DMs will get lifetime notifications of issues that were fixed. And you can even comment and chat in between each other, from field to store, from store to field up, and, you know, obviously home office, to be able to, you know, mention particular stores and walk them through, you know, praise or whatever the case may be, that we want to make sure that they understand this was a, you know, that we're all on the same page. Notifications are coming through live time. Comments are something that is really great for streamlining that communication. Again, giving your teams a lot better ways to kind of communicate in one single place. All of the work, all of the communications that I need to see around my store location and the work that I'm getting can be easily managed in this system. Makes it really, really simple for your DMs, and especially for your store teams. It's a really hectic environment in the restaurants these days, as all of you know, new processes, new things that they're having to get done. So having that instantly displayed for me, and having ways to ask questions or comment back and forth with each other is incredibly helpful in a time where communication can struggle because of just the general environment. Now, if we zoom back out for a second, I'll go back to this management kind of view. This is a really important way to kind of tie all of this information together. As work is getting done out in the store and field, work that I've assigned down from the home office or from the field perspective, we're given lifetime metrics in terms of tracking. So from our heartbeat dashboard, which is this main screen, I'm able to track a lot of quantitative metrics, how much work is out there getting done, where we may be struggling and falling behind with things like overdue tasks, how are we doing week over week in terms of overall completion rates, or even looking at specific items. How are we doing with our daily temperature logs week over week? And then a lot of the qualitative elements where we particularly struggling, you'll also be able to see from this higher level view, not just where store 1364 is struggling, but is this a trend that we're seeing widely across the business? I can see, we have a couple of strong trends here around cleanliness. That obviously plays a big factor in the overall customer experience. So I really want to spend some time with my teams, making sure that we're coached, trained, and incentivized in the proper ways to start taking corrective actions on these issues. I know understanding, especially in today's time, but for those of you that may be used to leveraging pen and paper or really niche solutions where data may be kind of separated in between 3, 4, or 5 different systems, having a tool that consolidates this data and gives you this information around really strong trends in the organization can be incredibly valuable in understanding where you need to spend your time. And we're starting to see a lot of restaurants, whether or convenience stores or grocery stores, whether it's from kind of a brand level or even down at the individual franchisee level, use these metrics to overall make changes in kind of the way that they're managing work or the way that they're coaching and training to actually make a real difference in the overall customer experience. I'll walk through a couple of kind of key pieces here. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the importance of work assignment. We make that extremely flexible for our customers by being able to assign any different type of work, whether it's something that's done daily at certain hours of the store, if it's a brand standards assessment that may be done once a week, once bi-weekly to our DMs. Zenput's going to make it super simple to roll these procedures out. We've worked with a lot of customers over the past couple of months that had to struggle pretty mightily in terms of just getting work not only communicated out, but actually starting to take action on those for COVID-related procedures. A lot of teams were amping up or doing new things from a sanitation or a cleanliness perspective that they've literally never had to do before. So you have to worry about a lot of things. You have to worry about enabling your teams, training your teams to make sure that they're aware of the new standards. You have to update the actual processes that are getting done. And then of course, disseminate all of that information out in a timely manner so you can take action now versus having to wait 3 or 4 weeks before we start to kind of really pick up steam. So this is where Zenput can have a huge impact on SOP rollouts or even updates and changes to processes, regardless of who's actually completing those. You can make changes live time on the fly and assign that work out in an instant. So you're able to take action, forms are updated, new processes are being communicated out to your teams immediately versus having to wait, several weeks or days, or worse, I go in as a DM 2 months after we've rolled something out and I realize they're using the same old version of that form that hasn't been updated internally. So it can be a really big struggle, and we really focus on making this part of it extremely easy. And of course, give you real-time completion data so you can track, are my teams actually getting this work done? I can see in real time as they are completing this work. And then of course, even dive into that data. I know Rob just submitted a brand standards assessment, so I can actually click in and view all of this data. So we're making everything streamlined, but also giving this kind of unprecedented level of visibility so we can kind of take changes more often and really quickly in an efficient way. So we're moving the business forward. In terms of the actual work, right, there's assigning it, there's kind of tracking the completion metrics. We give a ton of really amazing reporting on trending analysis. So as that director of ops, as that VP of ops that may oversee 10, 50, 10,000 locations, the ability to kind of analyze all of this data at scale can be something that either I have to go, hire a huge amount of employees to get done, or maybe, it's just something that I personally don't have access to that I would love to understand. How are we actually trending in particular areas of the business? So our reporting views are done automatically. These reports are analyzed, and data is kind of displayed in these really easy to use ways, if I start to see strong trends, hey, we're getting better in these areas, but we're still struggling, I can actually dive into this data, or actually even see, show me all of the photos that were taken when these items were present or these issues were present. So if I'm an operations lead, if I'm a food safety lead, if I'm even in marketing, I can get real-time eyes in the store without having to spend and waste, district manager time or windshield time driving out to seeing all of these locations. So our reporting capabilities are really there to kind of wrap this up from a more holistic view. So from a top-down perspective, I have a much better idea of what's actually happening in my locations than I've ever had before. And I'm saving a ton of manpower and hours in terms of actually getting that data. It's just presented for me in a way that makes sense and is helpful. And I don't have to spend any time actually calculating these reports or manually pulling. I know probably many of you have been in CSV and Excel purgatory there, where it takes forever to get these items done, and we're going to hopefully make that a ton easier. The last thing I want to hit on from the kind of top-down home office management, we've already talked a little bit about the importance of communication and consolidating that, especially when it comes to DMs working with their store teams. Being able to have that two-way communication is extremely important. But one thing that we found, especially in the world as it is today, where things are changing at a rapid pace, it can be really, really challenging for organizations at the home office to communicate out really, really important announcements or bits of information that everyone needs to be aware of in a timely manner. Some of you may have tried to go find individual solutions for things like company-wide announcements or very detailed announcements, or some of you still may be using emails, text messages, phone calls, and it's really inefficient and kind of slowing down your time. So we also take this broad, expansive view on communication, where we're able to not only assign work out, track that work, and review completion from a holistic view, but we can actually now start to take action on just global communication as well. If I need to go send out an announcement around a Labor Day promotion that is going live in just a week's time now, I can assign this out to all of my teams or to particular roles in the organization or even certain subsections of users. And I want to send this out to everyone that sits under the corporate training office. I can add text, I can add images, PDFs, all types of documents here into my announcement, and immediately blast this information out to all of my locations or subsections of my locations. So in the matter of just a minute or two in creating some of these announcements, you can get really good global communication that will ping the devices of your field team or ping the devices of your store teams to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And just like we do really detailed reporting on task work, we've also started to incorporate that in your announcements as well. So not just is the work getting assigned out, or are those announcements going out to our teams, I can see the level of engagement with those announcements as well. Have all of my stores read about the new regulation around store closing and new hours that are going out? I know now that 100% of my stores looked at this and that we're all on the same page. So if you guys take anything away from today, I hope that it's that there's a lot of different kind of key pieces that are really core to operations, whether it's tracking digital routines or audits out in the field or in the locations themselves, making sense of a lot of this data so it actually has an impact on your business and you're not just doing checklists for the sake of checklists, or struggling with just communication, right? Whether it be because of the systems you have in place or some of the constraints on team capacity that you have. We are here to help. We are the best in the industry when it comes to helping multi-unit operators manage this, and are really leading the way in terms of operational execution. And we'd be happy to understand more about some of the key challenges that you're having, as well as walk you through ways that we can hopefully help. So with that, I hope this gives everybody a pretty good understanding from a platform perspective, ways that we can help, how all of this works and makes sense in lieu of the overview that Pete gave. And so I'll kind of toss it back to the team, and we can go through a little bit of Q&A for those of you that are on the call that may have questions or things that you want to for us to address. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple of questions coming in. One of these questions is around kind of implementing a solution like this. So what are some of the best practices that you've seen in implementing, and how long does it take for organizations to implement the solution? This is a really great question. I think, it's something we talk a lot about, the importance of bringing agility to your operations, and we certainly want to be able to do that very quickly. So in terms of the overall implementation, our organization really focuses on understanding what are the kind of key things that we're bringing into the system, building out your hierarchy, configuring the account, and getting your teams up and running on the system really as quickly as possible. Our team does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the account and configuration, and even training some of the teams. And so I think, as most of you probably understand, the reality is most people are so used to using mobile applications in their personal lives or in more consumer-focused applications, that we see a really quick adoption generally from store-level employees, from field-level employees, because it is so familiar. The user face is super simple and clean, as you guys saw, and really just displays the information that you need to know. So a lot of our customers are able to kind of implement this and really get up and running very quickly, and then start to add on additional forms or use cases that drive additional value, quickly as well. In terms of best practices, I think we typically see organizations really kind of start from an operational level, from a food safety level, with some of the really critical work that they need to track, whether it's manager travel paths, HACCP logs, opening, closing checklists, all of those kind of processes that we see that really kind of have an immediate impact on readiness for the day, readiness for our customers, and overall customer experience. Those are really great places to start, but it is going to be highly customized to the needs of your business. If you guys have particular struggles in other areas of the business that you need better visibility, better action on, we take a tailored approach to make sure that we solve those issues for you and solve them quickly. We have another question here. How have customers been customizing their own personal COVID checklists within the system? It's a great question. I think we obviously, at the very beginning of the year, January timeframe was when we started to hear some of our customers start talking about if we need to start implementing new cleanliness procedures or changing the ways that we're doing things. And I think we've kind of seen customers go one of two routes. One of which may be, hey, we're already doing cleanliness, sanitation checks, whether it be part of our travel path or our kind of standard checklist. So let's update those to reflect some additional key items that we want them to check throughout the day. And so we have seen a lot of customers start to implement new COVID-focused sanitation, cleanliness processes within the processes that they're already doing today. Of course, in Zenput, that became really easy rather than having to wait weeks to change pen and paper forms or have to go through a ton of custom development to build new pieces of the questions. They're able to add those in live time in just a couple of seconds. So we were able to kind of help them take action very quickly by adding a couple of additional questions here and there where it makes sense. The other route that we've seen people go is actually just implement brand new processes. A lot of organizations and brands across the retail space are starting to have dedicated cleanliness and procedures that they're doing in the store level or from a field perspective. And this was a brand new process for their field teams, for their store teams. And so they were able to build those new processes very quickly. Of course, assign them out, send out communications around what expectations are around them, so everybody's up and running on them very, very quickly. But we've seen almost all of our customers respond really, really quickly and well to the demands from a COVID perspective. And do those in one of two ways. Maybe they're updating current kind of processes, or they may be launching brand new procedures. And I know we're coming to time, so I'll kind of wrap with one additional question here that we've received. For any of those that are asking, that have some questions on here that we don't get to, we can follow up with you individually. But the question here is around usage across the business. So is this platform typically only leveraged by operations, or do other departments get involved? It's a phenomenal question, and I think a conversation that we have with basically all of our customers. I'll tell you, traditionally, the operations, or maybe it's a QA and food safety team, are oftentimes the ones to kind of spearhead the conversation, largely because they're boots on the ground for a lot of the kind of execution-based work that needs to get done. However, very few of our customers actually just stop with managing food safety and operations. Other departments really, really quickly are able to start to leverage this ability to communicate with teams, to assign work, to gain information in terms of checklists or audits, or even things like photos and videos back from the store locations quickly, to better their own departments. So a couple that come to mind oftentimes are marketing teams that may spend a ton of time and effort, obviously putting together things like LTOs or promotional items, or new store remodels, jointly working with facilities on store remodels. And oftentimes they have to rely on district managers or above store leaders, to kind of get eyes in the store. Or maybe they personally have to spend windshield time driving out to those locations. So even something as simple as the ability to assign work out, like a promotional log verification, where they can actually send a task down to all of their stores to have them take pictures of their menu boards, or the or the window display that they've put up at their particular location for that limited time offering, and receive all of those in live time, has been extremely helpful in getting them better understanding of execution, so they can start driving revenues from those promotions sooner and faster than they ever have before. So marketing teams are often heavily involved in understanding the data, or actually assigning work out themselves. I mentioned a little bit on the facility side, right? Whether it's maybe remodels, or even just getting a better idea of if there's issues with the exterior of the store, maybe there's cracks in the cement or the pavement outside, or we need new light bulbs because there are light bulbs out in our forecourt, right? A lot of that data is captured inherently in the checklists and things that your store teams are already doing. So giving them visibility into that data can help them understand where there may be some quick wins or quick fixes that they can do to make a big difference on the overall health of that store, and what they're the vision that they're displaying to the customers. And the last one I'll say is, often finance gets involved as well, right? A lot of the kind of day-to-day checklists or things that are being tracked at the store level may involve counting cash, or understanding deposit logs, and getting verification that safes are emptied and calculated correctly on time. Even to things like looking for some LP related issues with shrink or things like that, right? All have an impact on the overall financial side of things. So being able to aggregate that data, and for a controller or somebody in your finance team to be able to see in real time that cash, or the deposits were done on time, and even have pictures of the slips, can be really, really helpful for those teams as well. So with that, I know we're kind of heading to the end of time here. So we'll go ahead, and I'll wrap to Pete for any last questions or comments. But I really, really appreciate the time that everyone spent here today. I hope this was helpful, and we look forward to hopefully speaking with all of you very, very soon.